Why you're failing at life, Marcus Aurelius explains right now. You might feel stuck. Maybe you're overwhelmed by the weight of expectations, your own, society's, the ones you inherited from your past. Maybe you feel like no matter how hard you try, you're not where you want to be. You watch others succeed while you struggle just to stay afloat. You chase happiness, but it always seems just out of reach. You make plans, but life keeps tearing them apart. And deep down, there's a quiet fear that you're failing not just in your career or relationships or ambitions, but in life itself. But what if I told you that everything you think about failure is wrong? That the reason you feel lost isn't because you're not trying hard enough or smart enough or because life is unfair. It's because you've been measuring life the wrong way. And no one understood this better than Marcus Aurelius, the man who ruled the Roman Empire in one of its most chaotic periods. A man who faced war, betrayal, personal tragedy, and yet remained unshaken. How? Because he saw through the illusions that trap most of us. And if you listen closely, he can save you from the very thing that's making you suffer right now. Marcus Aurelius believed that most people fail at life not because of external circumstances, but because they are prisoners of their own minds. They let their emotions control them. They obsess over things beyond their power. They chase pleasure and avoid pain, never realizing that both are fleeting. They waste their energy complaining about how life should be instead of mastering how to deal with life as it is. And worst of all, they live as if they have unlimited time, postponing their true purpose for some distant future that may never come. Think about this: how much of your suffering comes from things outside your control. You get frustrated because people don't treat you the way you want. You feel anxious because the future is uncertain. You compare yourself to others, feeling like you're falling behind. But Marcus Aurelius would ask you, why are you letting things you cannot control dictate your peace of mind? Why are you giving your power away to the opinions of others, to random events, to the uncontrollable chaos of the world? The truth is, you are not failing because life is difficult. You are failing because you are resisting life itself.
Click subscribe to this channel to get more topics you love.
Imagine being caught in a raging river. Most people panic, thrashing against the current, exhausting themselves in a desperate attempt to swim upstream. But the more they fight, the more they sink. This is what we do in life. We resist reality. We cling to expectations. We demand that things go our way, and when they don't, we suffer. But Marcus Aurelius knew the secret: stop fighting the river. Stop wasting your energy on things outside your control. Instead, focus entirely on what is within your power, your mind, your actions, your response to life. And here's the shocking truth: once you do this, once you accept life as it is instead of how you wish it to be, you stop feeling like a failure. Because failure itself is an illusion. It only exists when you measure life by the wrong standards. Society tells you that success is about wealth, status, achievement. But Marcus Aurelius would remind you none of those things are within your full control. You could lose everything tomorrow. And if your sense of self-worth is tied to external success, then you are always at the mercy of forces beyond you. But if your success is measured by your own virtues, your discipline, your wisdom, your ability to stay calm in the storm, then no one can take that from you. Not failure, not rejection, not even death. So ask yourself, where in your life are you fighting the river? Where are you clinging to an illusion of control? exhausting yourself over things that don't truly matter. What would happen if, instead of resisting, you accepted life fully, completely, as it is? The answer is simple: you would be free. But most people are too afraid to take that step, because if they stop chasing the illusions, then what remains? To understand this, we have to go even deeper into the fear that keeps us trapped, the ego that refuses to let go, and the way out that Marcus Aurelius left behind for us. The fear that traps you, why you cling to the illusion of control if the key to freedom is accepting life as it is. Why don't we do it? Why do we insist on fighting against reality, resisting change, and measuring our worth by things outside our control? The answer is simple: fear. Fear is the invisible force that keeps you trapped, the silent voice that tells you that if you stop chasing, if you stop controlling, if you stop resisting, everything will fall apart. And so, you hold on tightly, desperately to ideas, to identities, to expectations that no longer serve you. You believe that if you just try harder, if you just achieve more, if you just get everything under control, then you will finally feel at peace. But deep down, you already know the truth. The more you chase, the more you struggle. The more you resist, the more you suffer. Marcus Aurelius understood this better than anyone. As emperor, he had more power than almost any human in history. He could command armies, change laws, shape the fate of an empire. And yet, in his private writings, his meditations, he constantly reminded himself of a simple truth: control is an illusion. No amount of power could stop the aging of his body, the betrayal of friends, the deaths of loved ones, or the inevitable collapse of Rome itself. He could not control the world. He could only control himself. And that is where true power lies, not in dominating the outside world, but in mastering your inner world. But most people never realize this because they are ruled by fear. Fear of failure, fear of rejection, fear of facing life without the comforting illusions they have clung to for so long. And so, they remain trapped in cycles of anxiety, overthinking every decision, obsessing over what others think, constantly seeking external validation. They mistake movement for progress, busyness for purpose, and ambition for meaning. But no amount of external success will ever quiet the fear that lurks inside. Because fear cannot be conquered by running away from it. It must be faced. Marcus Aurelius would ask you, what exactly are you afraid of? Look at the thing that haunts you, the fear that keeps you up at night. Is it a failure? Loss? Loneliness? Death? Whatever it is, bring it into the light. Because fear thrives in darkness. The more you avoid it, the more power it has over you. But when you confront it, when you examine it with clear eyes, you realize something incredible. It is not as terrifying as you thought. Take failure, for example. You fear failing because you think it means something about you, that if you fail, you are unworthy, incapable, doomed to a life of insignificance. But Marcus Aurelius would remind you, failure is just an event. It is not a reflection of your worth. It is not a permanent state. It is simply what happens when reality does not match your expectations. And here's the secret: failure only has power over you if you let it define you. But if you accept it, learn from it, move through it without resistance, it loses its grip. Or look at rejection. You fear being judged, being disliked, being cast out. But Marcus would ask, why do you seek approval from people who do not even control their own minds? But why do you let the opinions of others dictate your life when those opinions are fleeting, irrational, and often meaningless? Other people's thoughts are beyond your control. The only thing within your power is how you respond. And once you stop wasting energy on things outside your control, something incredible happens. You become untouchable. Not in the sense that bad things won't happen, but in the sense that they will no longer shake you. Because here is the ultimate truth that Marcus Aurelius understood: fear is not something to be eliminated. It is something to be understood. It is a signal, a teacher. It shows you where you are still attached, where you are still resisting, where you are still clinging to illusions. And once you see it for what it is, once you stop running from it, you realize that it has no real power over you. You have been holding the chains all along. But if fear is an illusion, if suffering comes from resistance, then what does it actually mean to live well? If success is not about wealth or status, then what should we be striving for? This is where Marcus Aurelius reveals his greatest lesson, the one thing that truly matters, the foundation upon which all of Stoicism is built. And once you understand it, you will never see life the same way again. The only thing that matters, mastering yourself in an uncontrollable world, if fear is an illusion, if failure has no real meaning outside of the one we assign to it, then what does it actually mean to live well? What should we be striving for if wealth, status, success, and even external happiness are beyond our full control? Marcus Aurelius gives us an answer so simple, yet so profound, that most people overlook it entirely. The only thing that truly matters is your own mind, your ability to govern yourself with wisdom, discipline, and virtue, no matter what happens around you. Think about this deeply. Everything in life is uncertain. You could lose everything tomorrow: your job, your money, your relationships, even your health. The people you love will eventually leave, either by choice or by fate. The world will change in ways you cannot predict. Nothing external is truly secure, and yet we spend our lives obsessing over these things, as if controlling them will bring us peace. But Marcus Aurelius saw the truth. The only real security, the only real power, comes from within. No one can take away your ability to think clearly, to act with integrity, to remain calm in chaos. No one can force you to be consumed by anger or envy or fear unless you allow it. And this is where most people fail at life. They focus on everything except self-mastery. They chase pleasure while neglecting discipline. They seek validation while ignoring self-respect. They let their emotions control them, reacting impulsively to everything, never realizing that their lack of control over themselves is the root of their suffering. They think happiness comes from getting what they want. But Marcus Aurelius knew the truth: happiness comes from wanting nothing outside of your own control. Imagine how free you would be if nothing external could shake you, if your inner world was so strong that no failure, no rejection, no loss could disturb your peace. That is true power. But how do we get there? How do we cultivate this mindset in a world that constantly tries to pull us in every direction, that tempts us with distractions, that feeds our ego and insecurities? The answer is practice. Marcus Aurelius did not wake up every day already enlightened. He struggled, just like you. He had doubts, frustrations, moments of weakness. But he trained his mind daily. He reminded himself over and over that he was in control of his thoughts, that his emotions were his responsibility, that his actions were the only thing that mattered. He practiced self-discipline, even when no one was watching. He embraced discomfort instead of running from it. He accepted pain as part of life rather than something to be avoided. And this is what you must do if you want to stop failing at life. You must train yourself to be unshaken, to remain steady no matter what happens. You must become the kind of person who does not need external success to feel worthy, who does not need approval to feel confident, who does not need life to go their way in order to be at peace. Because once you reach that level of mastery, you are untouchable. Not because life stops being hard, but because you no longer depend on life being easy. But this raises one final question. If we are meant to accept life as it is, does that mean we stop striving? Does that mean we give up on ambition, on goals, on the desire to create and achieve? Marcus Aurelius gives us a surprising answer, one that changes everything we think we know about success, effort, and purpose. And it is in this final lesson that we discover what it truly means to live a good life. Effort without attachment, how to strive without suffering. If we are meant to accept life as it is, does that mean we should stop striving? Should we abandon ambition, give up on goals, and simply float through existence without direction? Marcus Aurelius gives us an answer that is both profound and liberating. No, we should not stop striving, but we must learn to strive without attachment. We must pursue excellence, not because we need success to feel worthy, but because effort itself is part of living well. We must take action, not because we expect the world to reward us, but because disciplined action is how we fulfill our potential. This is the balance most people never find. They either fall into passivity, using acceptance as an excuse to do nothing, or they chase success with desperation, attaching their self-worth to the outcome. Both paths lead to suffering. The first leads to stagnation and aimless existence where life happens to you rather than through you. The second leads to endless anxiety, where every failure feels like a personal defeat, every setback like proof that you are not enough. But Marcus Aurelius understood that there is a third way, the way of disciplined action without expectation, of effort without ego, of striving without suffering. The key to this mindset is realizing that your duty is to act, but the results are never fully in your control. You can train your body, but you cannot guarantee health. You can work hard, but you cannot force success. You can love deeply, but you cannot make someone stay. And so, instead of obsessing over the outcome, you focus entirely on the process. You give your best effort, not because you demand a reward, but because giving your best is its own reward. You work hard, not because success will complete you, but because discipline and mastery bring their own fulfillment. You love, not because you expect something in return, but because to love deeply is part of being fully alive. Imagine playing a game where you are so focused on winning that you never enjoy the play itself. Every mistake frustrates you, every obstacle feels like an attack, and by the time you reach the end, you barely remember the journey. This is how most people live their lives. They are so obsessed with the finish line that they never truly experience the race. But Marcus Aurelius would remind you, the race is life. The process is the reward. The outcome is secondary. And once you embrace this truth, you become unstoppable, not because you always win, but because you are no longer afraid to lose. This is what it truly means to stop failing at life. It does not mean avoiding mistakes. It does not mean always being happy. It does not mean achieving some perfect version of yourself. It means waking up each day and choosing to live with discipline, with wisdom, with purpose, regardless of what the world gives you in return. It means acting with integrity, even when no one is watching. It means taking responsibility for your mind, your emotions, your actions, because that is the only thing that is ever truly yours. And so, ask yourself one final question: what would happen if you stopped attaching your self-worth to outcomes? What would happen if you gave everything your best effort, but accepted that life owes you nothing in return? The answer is simple: you would be free. Free from fear, free from doubt, free from the illusion that happiness is something to be chased rather than something to be lived. This is the lesson Marcus Aurelius left behind, not just for those who ruled empires, but for anyone seeking to master themselves in an uncontrollable world. And if you take this wisdom seriously, if you truly embrace it, you will never see life the same way again.